back-to-back YouTube videos. The reason why I'm doing these videos much earlier is because I got clothes I have to wash, and then after I wash them clothes, I'll have lunch, and then I'm going to go hit the gym like I usually do on my Sundays. Now, this is another YouTube video. I think this is going to be a sex and dating self-improvement video. We're going to call it sex and dating self-improvement, sex with one woman or 10 women. Now, the reason why I'm calling it the name of that title is because there are a lot of men that are confused in the dating dynamics, in the sex dating dynamics, and they need someone like me to explain it. Now, most men just want to get into a nice, healthy, productive relationship. You know, they just want to date a girl. You know, most of us want to ask a woman out to lunch and dinner or for a cup of coffee. And there are like at least 3 stages to trying to ask a woman out on a date. Stage 1 is having to learn how to accept the fact that it might take you 2 or 3 years, or worst case scenario, 5 or 6 years to get from I'm just your friend to can I take you out on a date. You know, so that's, stage 1. Stage 2 is you got to be available, but then again, if you make yourself too available, then that might be a problem. Now, and then the third stage is you're actually dating the girl. So I think between stage 1 and stage 2, most of us get stuck at stage 1 and stage 2. And then you have what they call, I can't even get to stage 1 and stage 2 because I keep getting rejected. There's that problem, which I'm going to make a completely separated YouTube video on how you deal with rejection. Now, most pickup artists and most dating coaches and their 2-hour, 3-hour, 4-hour seminar that can charge anywhere between $300, $500, or $3,000, they don't ever tell you this 90% of the time. That most of your life, about 80% of the time, and I'm talking about when you're in high school, when you're in college, when you're in the real world, most men that are average and below average, most men only get to have sex with one woman. I'm talking about when you're doing self-improvement, you're going to do a thing that they call dumpster diving. Now, you might say, what is dumpster diving? Dumpster diving is where you have sex with women you don't find physically, sexually attractive. You know, if you're a black man, you might find yourself in a situation where you're having sex with fat white women or Mexican women that are 200 pounds, 300 pounds, 400 pounds, and some people might try to be a smart aleck, worst case, 500 pounds max. But my point is, I'm giving you a clear example. Now, try not to use movies and television shows as a way to explain stuff. And I'm going to tell you why you should never go with movies and television. Movies just show you a depiction on a series of scenarios that could happen to you, but 99.999% most likely will never happen because it's a movie. A television show can only show you a series of plot devices that can happen in real life, but the time that it will take for it to happen would take a long time, and then again, it's most likely it won't happen. Like, you have to be one of those unique men, one of those rare guys that when they see a movie or TV, no sooner they see something in a movie and TV, it actually happens to them, good or bad, like that. It's very rare that you watch a movie or a television show of a serious situation and it happens to you. Like, I'm going to use Fast and Furious as a prime example. Most guys, when they watch those movies and they drive a fast car, they think they're Van Diesel or Paul Walker. Now, in those movies, you can drive 90, 120, or 150 miles per hour and can't never get a ticket. Now, in the real world, you do that, you get a ticket, you get arrested, you get your car impounded, and you see a judge. Now, you see why I say it's not good to go with movies and television shows, right? Now, let's explain which men can have sex with multiple women and which men can't. Men that are average and below average, they don't get to have sex with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 women, right? When I was in junior high and high school and college, there was this game that men used to play. And it happened more than high school, or should I say, it happened more in college than it did in high school. And the name of the game was called How Many Women's Phone Numbers Could You Get? And the rule was if you can get 5 out of 10 or 7 out of 10, you were the winner. It was hard to get 8 numbers, 9, 10 numbers. You had to talk to a total of 10 girls, but you had to see how many phone numbers could you get from the girl. And if you got more phone numbers than all the other guys, you were the man for that day. Just for one day. And then the very next day, you would do the same thing over again. And by the end of the week, you were supposed to see if you could get 30 or 40 or 50 phone numbers from the girl when you were in high school or in college. Some guys were good at doing that. And I'm going to be the first one to tell you, me and 9 other people, we were terrible at that. We had fake phone numbers, fake email addresses. People laughed at us. People made fun of us. And it wasn't until later in life that we understood what was the problem. If you're a Chad, a Tyrone, or a Brad, you could get the phone number without asking for it. Now, the men that can have sex with 5 to 10 women, in the real world, you got to be rich and famous. Now, on YouTube, we have this thing that we call looks, money, and status. And a lot of pickup artists and dating coaches laugh because they go, looks, money, status, just so you can do that. Oh, you don't need that. This is why you don't listen to stupid, delusional pickup artists and dating coaches, because 90% of them are fake, they're phony, and they're con artists. They just want to sell you their books, their DVDs. They'll tell you my strategies work. My strategy will help you get all the chicks. A lot of these guys watch too much television and too many Hollywood movies, and they're not realistic in their approach to helping a man that's average or below average looking. Any man who tells you, I can help you get any woman you want, and you're an average to below average man, here's the best advice from you. The best advice to you. Don't ever listen to them. Because if that guy can't get super hot, attractive women that are 8s, 9s, and 10s, and I'm talking about women that are supermodels, fitness models, booty models, actresses, if he can't get the news lady, the cheerleader, if he can't get Miss USA, then you don't need to be trying to learn from this man. If he can't get the women that you see in the movies and television shows, there's no point in you buying his books and his DVDs. And what most pickup artists and dating coaches do is they live off of a reputation. They live off a reputation that's like 10 to 15 years ago, 20 years ago. And then you ask them, what have you done recently? And most of the time, they can't even give you a 100% straight answer. Because their goal is to just get you to buy their books and their DVDs so they can get rich, so they can go after the women that they find physically, sexually attractive. And they target men that are in high school and in college. You know, their demographics is from the age of 18 to 29. You notice they don't be trying to talk to men that's in their 30s and their 40s and their 50s, because men of those age group understand its looks, money, status, and they ain't got time to sit down in no 2-hour, 3-hour, 4-hour seminar trying to figure out how to get women to find them physically, sexually attractive. If you're average to below average man and you're like a 4, a 5, or a 6, you can only date women that are 4s, 5s, and 6. You can't be a 4, a 5, and a 6 trying to go after women that are 8s, 9s, and 10s. It just don't work like that in the real world. Now, in movies and television, it'll work all day, because that's a movie. That's a television show. But in the real world, you're a 4, you're a 5, or a 6, or even a 7, you can't get women that are 8s, 9s, and 10s. 8s date 8s, 9s date 9s, 10s date 10s. If you're a 7, you have to date a 7. If you're a 4 or 5 or 6, you got to date women that are 4, 5, and 6. That's how the rules work. I didn't make these rules up. When I was in high school and college, These rules were told to me by men much older than me because they saw that I got rejected 7 times, and it was like, okay, we got to sit them down and explain to them that stuff you doing in the movies and the television shows, it don't work in real life. And pickup artists and dating coaches love to take stuff from movies and television shows and convince you that it works in real life. And then you wonder why you getting arrested by the police, why police come into your house with an arrest warrant, a restraining order, because you listen to a bunch of morons that don't know what they're talking about and don't know nothing about women, period. 90% of these pickup artists and these dating coaches are just trying to make a business out of making money for nothing. Think about it. A lot of these guys don't want to work 9-to-5 jobs. They don't want no boss. They want to be the boss. And they tell you what to do, and they like the power and the control. But if they can't help you get average or above average women, you don't need to be listening to these men. And if you don't get the type of women that they tell you you can get in that certain time frame, like they guarantee you in 2 months or in 3 months you're going to get that girl that you see in the movies and television shows, I'm here to tell you, you're just wasting your money. You are. Because by the time you realize you've been scammed, it's too late. He already got your money, and he's already moved on to another city, another location, and he repeats the same cycle and process all over again. The answer is you got to be rich and famous to have sex with multiple women. Like, I'm going to use Hollywood as a prime example. You look at George Clooney, right? He is the golden standard when it comes to getting with multiple women. He's been in the Hollywood game for 30 years. He's been there for 30 years. He's done 20 or 30 or 40 films in Hollywood. He's produced, he's directed, he's wrote. He's basically wrote screenplays, he's produced, he's directed films, and he's acted. And he's executive producer of certain movies and television shows that he normally would star in, but he casts younger actors. And guess what? He's even taken on a mentor role. You know, he's mentored Leonardo DiCaprio and showed him how to pick up multiple women. I'm not saying you're supposed to do that. I'm just trying to explain to you that if you're going to learn something from someone, it should be someone like George Clooney, because he's a Hollywood leading man. He's been on Sexiest Men's Magazine 4 times. He's been on People's Magazine 3 times. And when you get put on those magazines, that tells you right there he's a Hollywood leading man. He's dated every type of woman that you possibly can think of. You name it, George Clooney's done it. He's dated good women, he's dated bad women, young women, older women. He's dated women that were average, above average, and he's even dated what you would call unattractive women. George Clooney has dated all the women you can think of. He's dated athletes. He's dated actresses. He's dated women that are from foreign countries. He's even dated foreign women. So if you wanted to model yourself after someone, George Clooney's one person. That's just one person. Leonardo DiCaprio dates foreign women. It's out there. It's no secret. You could even say, what about some of the black actors in Hollywood? You look at Michael B. Jordan, he dates everyone. He dates white women, Latino women, and he gets complaints, but what I'm trying to say is you need to look at those types of men. Now, you look in the world of sports, you know for a fact that the basketball players and the football players, those are the guys that have a reputation on the field, and when they get off the football field, off the basketball court, they have a reputation off the basketball court. The athletes are having sex with 5 women, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 women. You go back to when Magic Johnson first broke his silence and told the whole world doing his 13 years of professional basketball that every time he won a championship, he had sex with a woman. He would say he had sex with 5 women. And then he talked about the sexual fantasies. And then everyone took Magic Johnson's concept. And then 20 years later, 50 Cent comes in the rap game and makes a rap song called I Got Them You Know What. I'm trying to keep the video as clean as I can and keep it PG as I can. I ain't trying to get sued by Magic Johnson. I ain't trying to get sued by 50 Cent. Like, I'm not saying Magic Johnson will do it, but, you know, when you mention celebrities' names, if they run across the video, they might want to know why you mention them. And if you mention them in the good way, they cool. You mention them in the bad way, then it's like, oh, I'm going to have to sit down and, you know, we're going to have to discuss numbers. So I'm trying to explain to you how this works. Now, that's why I said you have to look at that. So the average man, the man that's average or below average, he don't get the luxury that these celebrities get. He don't get to live in the spotlight like the basketball player and the football player. You look at a lot of these professional basketball players, they've had sex with so many women that when you see them, they got a phone number that these guys, it's so intense. Most of them got 3 cell phones. Like, seriously, they got 3 cell phones that's got almost 100 phone numbers and 3 cell phones. So 3 cell phones, and you think about it, that's 300 phone numbers. So the average basketball player, average football player could have 3 cell phones and 100 numbers and 3 cell phones, and you add the total up, that's 300 cell phone numbers. Every time they go to a new city and state to play professional football or basketball, they run through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 women. And these be women that are married and have a husband. This be a woman that have 3 kids. This be a woman that have 7 kids. This be a woman that has 10 kids. And the football player will smash somebody's wife or ex-wife. You get a basketball player, he'll smash somebody's girlfriend or ex-girlfriend. This woman has a boyfriend, or this woman have an ex-boyfriend. They'll come up to the college, and only God knows what happens when they go to the college. And this is how come the girl get VIP tickets to the basketball games, the football games, and gets to the rap concert or the rock concert. This is how that happens. This is how the woman gets free movie tickets to see all the Hollywood blockbuster movies that we go pay our hard-earned money for. They get the tickets for free. But you don't know what they had to do to get the tickets for free until you find out 5 years later, 10, 15 years later. That's when you find out the shocking truth. Why these guys are smashing somebody's girlfriend or ex-girlfriend or wife or ex-wife. You can't even ask one woman out to lunch and dinner. So there's only 3 options to this. Number 1, become rich and famous and become a multi-millionaire or a billionaire. Option number 2, you become Chad. You become Brad. You become Tyrone. Option number 3, you get a passport and you go to a foreign country and do it outside the United States. And option number 4, which to me is the best one, is self-improvement. Now, with self-improvement, you may not be doing it 100% of the time. You might end up doing it some 50, 60, maybe 70% of the time if you self-improve yourself. Now, in my self-improvement videos, I've already told you there are 7 stages, 7 levels of self-improvement. So let's say you self-improve yourself to 3 levels. Well, that only allows you to get 1 woman. But let's say you self-improve yourself on 5 levels. Well, now you have 3 women or 4 women that gave you their phone number, and maybe 2 women out of that 4 might actually call back. So with self-improvement, it's like 60% of the time you're able to do it, and 40% so with self-improvement it's 60-40. With being rich and famous, it's 99.99%. If you're Chad or if you're Brad or Tyrone, it's 90% of the time. So there's only 4 ways for you to have sex with multiple women. But if you're just an average or below average man from the age of 18 to 29 or 30 to 35, the problem with that is it's just going to be 1 woman. Because it's going to take you 10, 15, 20 years for you to get looks, money, and status. And by the time you become the best version of yourself, all the women that rejected you in high school and college and at work, they hit the wall. Once they hit the wall at stage 1 and stage 2, most of these women would have already had kids. They would have gotten married and divorced 3 times. And you're not going to find these women physically, sexually attractive because it's 5 years later. It's 10. It's 15 years later. It's 20 years later. And a new generation of women have come from behind them, and you want young, attractive women. You don't want women the same age as you or older than you. And you only learn this through self-improvement. The more you self-improve and the better you get, the more the quality of women. You get better quality of women when you self-improve. If you're rich and famous, your self-improvement's finished because you're rich and famous. But let's not get confused between self-improvement and being rich and famous. Rich and famous is the concept of you want something right here, right now. You can do it because you're famous and you're rich. Self-improvement means to take a look at yourself and what can you do to self-improve. So don't be going off of movies, television shows, and rap songs on, oh, if they can do it, I can do it. That's the wrong way to think. The right way to think is think realistic. Only the football players, the basketball players that you see in professional sports, they're able to do it. I know because I worked for the Coliseum 2 years in a row, and I got to be inside of an NFL locker room. You know how hard it is to be a janitor and be inside of an NFL locker room? And why I had to clean, I had to move professional football players' shoes around. I had to take the trash out. I had to sweep the rug. I had to clean the restroom. I had to pick up their chairs, move their bags into their locker rooms. And guess what? Why this wide receiver's out there playing football for the Rams, his cell phone goes off. Now, his wife might have already called and text messaged him, but this ain't his wife. This some woman who's a groupie who's trying to do what? She's trying to do monkey backflips, as Coach Gray Adams on YouTube calls. She's doing that while he's playing football, and his cell phone's going off. And I can see right in the middle of his cell phone that this guy got like almost 50 phone numbers in his cell phone. Now, in that cell phone, he has his mother's phone number, he has his father, he has his brother, he has his uncle, he has his cousin, he has his wife, and then he has 50 women that are not his wife. He has 50 women that's not his girlfriend. And guess what? Every time he goes to another city, he is getting monkey backflips on him. And this is something that the average and below average woman does for them. And this is something that the average and below average man never experience. So it could be 10, 15, 20 years later, and you will never experience this because you are not on that level. And if you don't work close to the entertainment, or if you don't work in the world of sports, you'll never see what I'm talking about. You have to be in the world that I'm talking about to actually get a close-up. I've seen women throw themselves at Russell Wilson when I seen them in person. He's signing little kid's autograph, and the mama looking at Russell Wilson, and they're taking their phone out saying, here's my phone number. And I seen Russell Wilson look at the woman like not in front of the little kid. So I've seen it. I witnessed it. For 2 years, I was at the Coliseum, inside of an NFL locker room. You have to have a perfect background with no criminal record to get to that level to see what I'm talking about. Me telling it to you is like scratching the surface. You have to actually get a job where you see professional basketball players, football players playing, and then when the game's over and you go into the locker room, it's to clean up the locker room. And if you're lucky enough, you could ask one of the NFL football players, how often do you get approached by women? And you'll be amazed that he'll give you a big number. And these guys have families, these guys have kids, and they will go out and they will let these women do monkey backflips, as Coach Gray Adams refers to in his YouTube videos. So the reason why I call it Sex and Dating Self-Improvement, sex with 1 or 10 women, I'm trying to tell you, most men would prefer 10 women. The problem is you can't even get one. And if it takes you 10, 15, 20 years to get one woman, that means you're an average or below average man. Now, that doesn't mean you can't have the same experience. If you want, I mean, most men will go to a strip club and will just pay for it, like Floyd Mayweather Jr. You see him did it before he became rich and famous, and when he got rich and famous, he still kept doing it with stripper women. And he got one of those stripper women, you know, I don't have to tell you, you already know what happened there. But my point is, even on his level, he gets so many women come at him, you have to be in that level to see it. Most men don't ever see what I'm talking about because they're not in that profession. Most of these guys who go to school, who go to work 10, 15, 20, 30 hours, you don't know what your wife's doing at home. You don't know what your girlfriend's doing at home. And when you find this stuff on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, you find out it's 5 years later, it's 10, it's 15 years later. Everybody else at your job know about it, but you find out later. And then when you confront the female, it's not going to matter if she tells the truth or not because it's 5 years later. It's 10, it's 15 years later, it's 20 years later. And then people laugh at you because it's all around you. 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, there is some basketball player, some football player that you've seen on TV or you met in person that is in your city and state, and it could be a woman that you like, and guess what? By some luck of chance, that football player smashed that girl before she comes to work and smile in your face and say hi. But you don't know that because you don't watch football. You don't watch basketball. So you could be a fan of your favorite athletes, and this is why they make a video. I'll probably have to make another video called Don't Ever Follow in the Footsteps of Your Heroes. Don't ever try to imitate your heroes. And a lot of these men imitate their favorite basketball player. These guys imitate Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, and LeBron James. And then when the truth comes out, they're terrified, they're heartbroken when the truth come out. And they tell you stop following in the footsteps of your heroes. And people don't listen. So your favorite football player could be in your city and town and smash your girlfriend at work and you probably don't know about it. Other people do, but you don't. And then you get the guys who say, oh, that'll never happen to me. And they're even worse. Because when they find out the truth, other people be like, yeah, we knew, but we weren't going to never tell you. And then it starts fights at work. It starts fights in the gym. It starts fights at home. Then the guy's heartbroken. And sometimes the parents know about it, but won't say anything. So I had to make this video to really get you to open your eyes and ears and think. It's all around you. I witnessed it. When I was in high school and college, there were girls I had crushes on, and they were going to the basketball games and the football games, and they would come back, and their boyfriend found out that she smashed a football player that he got an autograph from that same day, and he never was the same ever again. And all these guys played basketball and football in high school and college, but then only to find out their girlfriend is running off to go stalk an NFL football player, to go stalk an NBA player. And these guys are playing basketball and football in high school and college, and they still get cheated on. And then these guys can't believe it that I'm playing basketball and football, but you messing with guys on the pro level. Even if it's semi-pro, they'll still do it. So this video is probably longer than it has to be. So until then, peace.